Hello, everybody. Had needed an extra 30 seconds there to gather myself after an amazing talk by Christina. Thank you so much, Christina. Um, Christina and I actually met not too long ago, and both of us had this idea for this event on our hearts. And then we met at an event, and just like within 2 minutes of us meeting, we were planning this and writing it down in our calendar. And we're both just so overwhelmed with how fast it's grown and how huge it's grown. And it just goes to show you that people really need this. People are looking for solutions, and this resonates with so many people. So I've never spoken to this many people all at one time. So it's a big deal, and I'm sharing something so vulnerable, but it's been on my heart for a while, and it's time to share, and obviously people need to hear it. So here I go. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brandy Hadfield, and I'm the president of Attachment Parenting Canada. I am also a certified Dr. Sears family health and nutrition coach, and I created the Dream Method for Healthy Family Sleep, which is an alternative to sleep training, and it's a wellness program for parents who are really tired. I have a lot to share, but really wanting to stick to behavior and the nutrition link. So starting with that, I guess it begins when my eldest was born. And right away, we knew that he was so special and amazing. He was the kind of baby that didn't want to be put down. Some of you may have a baby like that. Didn't want to be put down, nursed often. And I found Dr. Sears. I found some of the things that he had written, and serendipitously, his writings about his daughter Hayden sounded exactly like it was written about my son. So now Hayden's actually going to be speaking on this event tonight, which is just goes to show you that nothing's by accident. So thanks to Dr. Sears, I was able to find a way, an approach to parenting that felt right and that allowed our beautiful son to shine like a sunflower. And I had decided that I wasn't going to go back to my corporate job, and that I was going to stay home and figure out a way to earn an income being a stay-at-home parent with him, because so much of it was just intuitive. There's so much that goes into my whole story about intuition, and I just intuitively knew that that was the choice for us, that I had to move mountains to figure out how it was going to happen. So I started figuring out a way to teach classes on family nutrition, and started doing that. And I wanted to find a product that I aligned with, that I could service my clients with, that made sense to me. And so I found out about Juice Plus through my own research, and started my son on, my eldest, when he began solids. So I was already really passionate about health and nutrition, was parenting just instinctually and informed by Attachment Parenting International and Dr. Sears, and I was using Juice Plus on my firstborn as soon as he started solids. And so he had a myriad of things that kind of came into play with some of the challenges that would really come to the forefront later on. He had one of those things include two reactions to vaccines that landed him in the hospital for sick children. That was one of the things. The other, I think it was this really stressful pregnancy that I had, and there was a lot of intervention, and so there was that. And I think part of it is just inborn, just who we are. Some of us are more easier going dandelion type temperaments, and some of us are more highly sensitive individuals. And I think he is a highly sensitive individual, and how, the world needs more of highly sensitive people. So that's fantastic, but it's all about helping these highly sensitive people to shine and to lead a life that's the most comfortable for them. So, instinctually, I nursed on demand, and what some people would say extended breastfeeding, some people would say full term breastfeeding. But again, intuitively, I knew that I needed to let him take the lead on that, and he was one of those kids that, little ones, toddlers, that they were nursing like a newborn. And what I later learned was the content of breast milk, how it's 50% fat, like the macronutrients of it. It's 10 to 20% protein, 25 to 40% carb. And not only that, it's germ fighting, it's inflammation soothing. That's a big one that comes into play later. And it enhances the immune system. So it makes sense now in retrospect why he was such a big nurser and for so long. As well, he was taking the Juice Plus since he started solids, and he wasn't a picky eater. So we were mitigating a lot of issues right from the get-go. So, even though he was what my husband calls a lot of kid, he had an amazing vocabulary from an early age. Like his sense of humor was out of this world. Like even as a 15-month-old toddler, he was making puns, like just wild. So we knew that he was bright, but he was a handful. So then fast forward to life gets really crazy, and we move. We have a new child in the picture. So our eldest has a sibling. We moved. My husband's working a really stressful job. I decide to take on the presidency of Attachment Parenting Canada, designing 2 e-courses and writing a book. And guess what took the back burner? All our healthy habits. I think that, I don't know why that's the first thing to go sometimes when life gets really, really busy and when a lot is going on, when it's the time that, and I teach this, and I was teaching this as it was happening, that when we're going through the marathon of life, it's when we need to be fueling ourselves the most like athletes. But I wasn't. We got into the fast food lifestyle. In fact, if I was to be teaching something like this tonight, not relating to nutrition, but if I was to teach a webinar, usually my family would go out to McDonald's and I would say, bring me back something. And, that I would be eating candy like M&Ms while I was writing. I was fueling myself with this crap that I knew I was doing. But anyway, and I think for my eldest, I also wanted it to be fun for him during such a time of intense change and adjustment. So it was easy to kind of fill the snack drawer with the goldfish crackers and the cookies, the bear paws, to have popsicles in the freezer that he could reach and grab and help himself to. It felt like I wanted to provide some sort of abundance and some sort of autonomy that he could reach for these snacks. So I ended up taking the lead on weaning from breastfeeding. So he was weaned, and we stopped taking Juice Plus, and we had added all of these packaged foods with these ingredients that I've been mentioning. Because there was just this period of our life with all of this intense change that everything all of us can admit, even naturopathic doctors sometimes go through these, I guess, I don't know, these holes that they find themselves in, that they have to get out of those bad habits again. So what ended up happening was my own health challenges ended up being the catalyst for change in my child. But before I get into that, I just want to say what some of the major challenges I was facing in terms of behavior, because some of you can probably relate to it. So instead of just being highly sensitive, like, as a 2-year-old, I remember us saying, we didn't even have terrible twos. Like our eldest while he required a lot of engagement, he really liked a lot of engagement, is the best way I could say it. Demanded a lot of attention. He didn't have tantrums when he was a toddler. So we thought we'd kind of escape that. But it wasn't until this, the not having breast milk anymore, not having flooding his body with the 30 fruits and vegetables that Juice Plus was giving him, and having all of the processed food, that we really started to see aggression and explosive behavior. So some of the hardest things some of you on this call may have seen, like a tantrum in our building, our apartment building here. I know that there's some neighbors that could attest to seeing him like laying on the floor screaming, and me trying to manage getting out of the building. So these public kind of meltdowns were the norm. Rejection of anything new, like wanting to go to the park, or a friend wanting to play. He's claimed that he hated kids. He hated anything unpredictable. I remember being on the couch, and this is going to make me get upset. Okay, I remember smiling at him and him attacking me because he viewed that as looking at him the wrong way. So it was moments like that that was so unpredictable, and it was a minefield of triggers that I was trying to avoid on a daily basis. And it made me feel really upset that his little brother had to also deal with all that. In addition to being a little one and having big needs himself, he also had to make room for his big brother, and seeing that is heartbreaking. I'm a professional in the parenting realm, so I'm trying to lead parenting support groups and all of these things, and having this shame that I'm carrying, that I feel like I've done everything that I was supposed to, or I followed my intuition despite naysayers, despite all the judgment. Decided to homeschool because in my gut I knew that was the right thing to do for our unique situation. It was just a really, really hard time, and we saw every type of professional, from through medical, like recommended through our MD, to play therapists, to occupational therapists. We saw it all, read it all, and implemented it all. And I just grew to accept that was my life, and that, like the old saying goes, that just wait it out, that it goes so fast, that, just kind of waiting it out, and that this is my life right now, and that was it. And then when my own health took a major decline, and I started to suffer from severe joint pain, and it turned out I had a leaky gut. I thought I was getting arthritis. I was getting breast infections every single month, and my energy was just terrible. Like, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck when I woke up every single morning. So intuitively, again, I got these red flags saying something big is going to happen if you don't take charge now and make a change now and stop this right now. And a total overhaul is needed. So that's when I sought the advice from a naturopathic doctor, and she put me on a protocol to heal my gut and so on. And it just came up in conversation about my son. I'm not even sure how it came up, because she was treating me. But she was kind enough, generous enough to give me some advice with my son, because she had seen it hundreds of times over in her practice. So it was really easy for her to look at what was going on and offer some solutions that were nutritionally based. So I was scared of making a change, because I'm very cognizant about children creating a relationship with food and having an attitude of abundance instead of restriction wherever possible while they're developing this relationship with food. So I worried about taking certain things away, and she very kindly and lovingly said, with all due respect, this is kind of like telling a heroin addict, kind of like saying to a heroin addict that you're afraid to take away the smack because of the reaction or the relationship. And that made sense to me. So, but I still wanted to approach it from my place of abundance. So what I did was I packed up the kitchen basically at night, but I kept everything in bags in the back room, and then had everything replaced with healthy alternatives. Christina spoke about weaning things out, which is completely, I think as parents, we know the approach that we need to take depending on the situation that we're in and the age and stage of our children. For me, I knew it needed to be like a overhaul, but in a loving, abundant way without making a big deal about it. So I didn't make any big announcement or anything like that. I just replaced everything, but I had everything kind of in my back pocket in case of emergency. And that emergency didn't come, and it actually went way smoother than I thought. So transitioning off of those foods went really well. My health, I started to heal. However, I had an incredible histamine reaction, and I've always had allergy issues my whole life. So I then had my friend, Dr. Jennifer Scott, who's going to be speaking later, who is another naturopathic doctor who is also kind of supporting me as a friend, offering different remedies to help with what was going on. And then suddenly I said, I haven't been taking Juice Plus. So we made all these diet changes, but I hadn't been taking my Juice Plus for a while. So then I said, I've tried everything else. I've tried special diets and protocols and so on. I want to see what happens when I add this back into my diet, because when I think back to when we all felt our very, very best, when we were all at our peak vibrancy, mood, joy, was when we were all taking Juice Plus. So I got it, and then the very same day that I took it was when my histamine reaction stopped dead in its tracks. So every body is different, and what everybody's got going on is different. But for me, what happened was the Juice Plus, which is rich in quercetin and bioflavonoids, things like this that mop up histamine. So for me, it was immediate the same day. So obviously started my whole family on it. And then it was about a month of all of these changes where it was like the clouds cleared, the weight lifted, the sun came out. And this wasn't because it became spring. This was in the middle of winter when all of this happened. So nothing else had changed in terms of what was going on environmentally. It was just the nutrition changes. There's no breakthrough with a therapist or anything like that. It was literally, that was all I could say was really different. And it was a huge night and day difference. About a month, I suddenly realized that I didn't have to, for myself, that I didn't have to have a nap in the middle of the day. So my energy and all of that was great, but let's go back to children. With my son, with my eldest, who had been explosive for some time before that, suddenly it was like if sarcasm was one of the triggers, if somebody made a sarcastic joke. And so now if somebody made a sarcastic joke, he could actually laugh at it. If something unexpected happened, if a kid walked up to him and invaded his personal space at the playground, he didn't care anymore. So for me, these things meant that he was more comfortable, but also it opened up so much world of possibility for us as a family, and for his younger brother, who could now get his needs met in terms of being social and getting out there and going to the playground, because that was something that we had avoided for a while because of what could possibly happen. And like I said, the minefield of triggers. And Julie LaFontaine, who's going to be speaking after me, can attest, because she had been at my home and seen me having to restrain my son during a violent outburst. So when you're going through that, when you're in the thick of it, and it's like, it hits me more now that I'm out of it, because every single day a trigger will happen. And for one thing, I now am so much less anxious and stressed that even if something did happen, I can handle it with so much more grace than I used to be able to, because I didn't have that constant anxiety buzz. It's one of the factors, one of the symptoms of having leaky gut. But for my son, those triggers don't trip him up the same way. So these things are constantly coming up every single day, and every single day I'm reminded, wow, that would have been a meltdown right there. And it's not like, and now we can just continue and go on with our day. He just laughed instead. He just shrugged it off instead. So the lesson in all of this, that I learned, that I always knew because I came from a health and nutrition and fitness background. That was always who I was, but I had this dark time. The lesson that I learned is that doing the work is easier even when you're busy, even when you've got everything going on. In fact, now that I've made all of these changes, I can do more than my productivity is so much better, and my children are so much more content and happier that it allows me to get more done in a day because I'm not having to constantly defuse. So doing the work is easier preventatively, and having your toolkit is easier than taking the shortcuts. That's what I learned. And also how important it is to fuel ourselves as the parents in these situations, because we're leading by example and we are their first and greatest teachers. And if we're properly fueled, then it allows us to be able to handle everything that comes our way so much better and wake up refreshed and just deal with the myriad of challenges that are thrown our way, even if we don't have a behaviorally challenging child. One of the things I wanted to share was some of how to do this, some of how to make these changes. Dr. Sears is going to talk in a little bit about some of the science behind why adding fruits and vegetables and something like Juice Plus would make such a difference to a child's brain, because we don't often correlate the two, but he's going to share. I'm going to save that for him to share. But some of the changes that we made is, oh my gosh, when I think of like the typical daily diet and how nutritionally void it was, like when we're often traveling, we're often on the road, and Timbits were always a big thing when we'd be on the road. I would just got into that habit. And now we do these Yum Balls, which we make so they're energy balls and they're incredibly nutrient dense. We have them regularly, like not only for road trips, but you can, they're great for school lunches. We homeschool, so we just have them on the go just for snacks. And we use our Juice Plus Complete, which is a smoothie plant-based protein. So we make smoothies on the daily, and that's one way that I actually use the Juice Plus Complete. Plus, I open up a capsule of each veggie, berry, and fruit. And what I do is I open it up and I put it right in the smoothie, or lately we've been doing smoothie bowls, and I'm going to have some recipes coming. And I just open up the capsule and sprinkle in the concentrated fruit, vegetables, and berries right into the smoothie. So by doing that, we're getting 45 whole foods into his body for breakfast instead of a waffle with Aunt Jemima, or instead of a Nutella sandwich, which would be another common one, a Nutella sandwich on Wonder Bread. So instead of starting the day with foods that he's reacting to, I didn't mention this, but it was also found that we're dealing with a genetic mutation called MTHFR, which is gaining a lot of popularity, but in the media, because a lot of people are finding this out. Science is always evolving and growing, and more research is always being shared. And so one of the issues with this is that people who have this MTHFR genetic mutation have a harder time with dealing with toxic load. So, it's easy to think back. It's easy to play like, oh, why can't life just be simple like it was for us? Why can't we just have the Kool-Aid and the Eggos and all of that we had? Well, we're dealing with a different world. We're dealing with much more pollution and much more toxic environment than our grandparents had to deal with. So we've got that not going for us. We're dealing with more stress and more busyness and less downtime than our grandparents were able to have. And we're dealing with less nutrient-dense foods. So the fruits and vegetables that we are consuming, they're not coming from the best soil that they used to. They're often genetically modified or sprayed with pesticide, and they're ripening in the store. But most of the nutrition in a plant comes during the end of the ripening. So, we've got less nutrient-dense food. It takes 5 oranges to equate 1 orange that our grandparents had. And when we go out to have fast food, the supersizing is like the portion control is out of control compared to what our grandparents had. And the array of packaged food choices is just astronomical compared to our grandparents. Like my grandmother, she always made a home-cooked meal. She had the ability and the time to do that. And our grandparents often gardened and these kinds of things. So we're dealing with a whole different ball of wax now. The nutrient density of the food is a big one. And so now what's being recommended by health professionals, and everyone can agree on this fact, is that we need 10 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Fist size, so a child needs 10 to 13 of their fist size, so it's smaller because their stomachs are smaller, and we need our fist size 10 to 13. And if we can have that, then we're much more equipped with the phytonutrients to combat all of this oxidative stress that's being thrust our way through our environment and through our stress and so on. So some people wonder, and I'll go back to how. I'll go back to how to make these changes. But some people just wonder if they need something like Juice Plus. And so I thought visual aids are always really good. So I wanted to show, because 10 to 13, maybe you feel that you're getting that. But this is a salad that I made that has 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. So I have one fist of spinach, 1 fist of kale. I have half an apple, some blueberries, and about 1/3 of a cucumber. So I think I'm being kind of generous by saying 5 servings. So this is one salad with 5 servings. Then we'll say this banana is a serving. So we've got 6 here. And let's say we have a smoothie and we have a cup of berries in it. So now we're at 7. I think that most people watching, if you ate that in a day, if you ate this big salad, this banana, and a smoothie with a cup of berries in it, that you'd think you had a really good day. The reality is we're at 7. We're not at 10 to 13. We're at a little bit over half. So the reality is that most people aren't even doing that. And I know that from experience teaching workshops for years, because I would ask that question to my class, to write down everything you've eaten today or write down everything that you've eaten yesterday, and you can pick whichever day was better and circle. And those of you who are watching who are in my class remember doing this. Circle how many servings of fruits and vegetables you had. And the average would always be 1.5. And this would be new mothers with babies. So really tired people going through exactly what I mentioned. A time of major, intense shift and change and stress. So I firmly feel that that nobody can say that they don't need a way to bridge the gap between what they're eating and what they need to be eating. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with all of the changes that you may want to make, don't feel taking the victim villain road, like, I'm just a victim of my circumstances. There's nothing I can really do, is one way to go about it. But there are ways that you can really make powerful change happen for you, I promise. And so in my coaching practice, whenever change is needed to be made, I like to coach people with attacking it from different angles, from different sources to ensure successful change. So looking at motivation and ability, like, do you want to do it and are you able to do it? So for ourselves and for our children, we need to look at those areas. Do they want to do it? Do we want to do it? Are we able to do it? Are they able to do it? So with babies, they already know what they need. So they already have this wisdom. That's why they like to be held all the time and to nurse all the time. They already have that wisdom intact. And then somewhere along the way, they lose it. And we have to help them get that back, and we have to get that back for ourselves. So by attending this event, that's one major awesome check that you are getting the education and you're learning the tools that you can implement. Being educated and understanding why it's so important is key, because once you understand the why, then it's easier to put in the effort. And the effort really is upfront effort with less effort down the road, because when you're not having to deal with meltdowns on a daily basis, and when you have more energy, and when your mood is stable, that's easier. That's an easier life to live. So there's that piece. The other piece is social. Like, having social support is really key. So connect with the person who invited you to attend tonight, because they are plugged into an awesome community and they can invite you to much more things like this, whether it be online or in person, because you need to surround yourself with people who are going to bring you up, who are going to encourage you and inspire you. And that's one of the things that I love about the Juice Plus community. Surrounding myself with people who know more than me, so that I can learn and constantly learn and grow and implement awesome tools and solutions to my family. And then, speaking of tools, we need tools in our repertoire for when we get busy. One of the things to look at is planning in your calendars to set yourself up for success. So on Sundays, I like to use Sundays as my planning day, and I kind of combine the planning with the social, and I have salad in a jar parties, and a bunch of us get together and we make mason jar salads for the week. And that way I'm surrounding myself by that positive community. I am taking time to fill my tank, to get together with people that I like, and I'm setting myself up for the week. So it's like a win-win. And I like to call this lifestyle optimization, when we can kind of, I don't like to use the word kill two birds with one stone, but you get what I'm saying. We're getting two needs met in one chunk of time. So that's awesome. So having an easy button like Juice Plus really, really helps. Planning ahead, making it fun, and continuing to plug into education and a social network are really, really key. Last but not least, I want to read to you some of these ingredients that are included. So when I'm making my son, when I'm starting his day with that smoothie bowl that I posted, the very first post I think in this event, what I was giving him and what took me 1 minute to do was I was giving him acerola cherry, amaranth, alfalfa sprout, apple, artichoke leaf, beet, bilberry, blackberry, blackcurrant, blueberry, broccoli, broccoli sprout, cabbage, carrot, chickpea, cocoa, Concord grape, cranberry, date, elderberry, kale, grape, garlic, ginger root, green tea, millet, tomato, spinach, rice, radish sprout, pumpkin, pomegranate, peach, parsley, orange, mushroom, papaya, pea, pineapple, prune, quinoa, raspberry, soy, organic, non-GMO, spirulina, and yucca. Yucca? So that's the power of what we have to offer. And not only that, the fact that nothing in the world is as thoroughly researched. I challenge you to try to find something more thoroughly researched and proven to be bioavailable, so it's actually absorbed, and proven to reduce inflammation. Remember, I was talking about breast milk and how it reduces inflammation? Well, this is one way to reduce inflammation. Support healthy skin and gums, support your immune health, protect DNA, reduce oxidative stress, support lung health, reduce insulin resistance, support quality of life in ovarian cancer survivors, it's been proven to do, and contribute to cardiovascular wellness. So all of these things, and our other presenters are going to speak to this peer-reviewed gold standard medical journals that it's published in, but it's just phenomenal. There's nothing else in the world. So I ask you, why not? Why not try and see if you can be one of these stories sharing tonight and change your story, because it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to just accept it. There are things you can do, and there is a huge community. We're seeing over 3,000 when I went live that are here to take you with open arms and be your friend. All right. Have a good night. Please stay and watch all the rest of the speakers. They've got so much beautiful information to share.